Hey guys, it's Jarrett. Our next adventure, different video for us this go around. So I am at my dad's place, and as many of you know or don't know, I grew up on a farm, grew up as in a farming household. And so I kind of thought maybe on this particular video, maybe show you a little bit about who I am, let you meet my dad, kind of some of the stuff that my dad's into. It's a little bit windy out here, so hopefully the volume's not too bad. Just going to kind of show you around the farm a little bit, and kind of talk to my dad about how much things have changed. I know I'm not a farmer, you know, I mean, you guys know I'm in real estate, but how much things have changed since I was a kid to some things have changed from when he was a kid. And I'll show you around a little bit, talk about this a little bit. I know this is kind of a different video. Honestly, this video is a little bit for me more than anything, but it's something I wanted to do while I have the opportunity to do it. So I hope you enjoy it. Come check out my dad and brother's farm. All right guys, I'm here at the farm with my dad. Hi Dad.
Hey, how is everybody?
We're out here on what is been a 10-year project for Dad. These are his tractors that he's restored over the years. Said it took him about a decade to do it. And so we're gonna kind of ride down through here and talk about these. And so this first tractor is his 340 Farmall 58.
It's 1958. It was purchased new by my dad, Hubert. It was used on the dairy farm. That tractor did a lot of work that you today wouldn't think possible, but now it earned its keep. It done a tremendous amount of filling silo, cutting hay, plowing, you name it, it did it.
Which is amazing when you stop and think about it, because when I was a kid and all these tractors were good for was plowing the back.
Yeah.
Or maybe pulling
a wagon load of hay to the barn or something.
Maybe, depending on how much hay was on that wagon. So, pretty neat little tractor. Had this one about a year.
I've had about a year.
And so it was pretty rough when it come in. We joked, we were talking about this one the other day. It's not a very good picture for the sun. We joked the other day, talked about it, and said it looked like he drug it in the shop upside down. It wasn't quite that rough, was it?
No, but it was. If you seen it then and now, you wouldn't think it's the same tractor. You would have thought I had replaced it with a good tractor. I mean, it's pretty rough. No seat, just all paint gone, wide front end, ball tires. It was bad. But it took me about 10 years to get this one bought, because I knew what I kept track of it its whole life. And when I decided I wanted it, I would have probably gave, that's when tractors like that was at the premium, I probably would have gave $2,500, $3,000 for it. By the time I got it, they were down, and I think I gave $500 for it. So.
Did it run?
Yeah, it actually run.
Okay.
But nothing worked on it.
That's the only thing that worked?
When, you know, a lot of people don't realize these old tractors that sat out, it had more water in the transmission than it did oil. And that is no joke. So anytime we get a tractor in to refurbish, first thing we do is get all the oil out of it and replace it.
That's cool. I didn't even know that, but it sounds makes sense, because they don't they get water in the motor too pretty bad.
Well, these here, with all those bolts that goes into the casting over the rear end, they'll leak more water than people think. Water will find a way in.
Yeah, that's always does.
And even your old H&Ms, they're full of water. Every time we've ever worked on one, they'd be full of water. So it's nothing unique to International. Any of them's gonna have but set out.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move up to the next one. Now we're up here looking at his 666. Kind of a funny story about these tractors. How long have you had this one?
I probably had that one 7, 8 years. Maybe longer. I've had it quite a while.
So the 666 tractor didn't sell well because of the number.
That is a true statement. A lot of people did not want to be associated with 666. And even your son Kevin calls it Satan's tractor. It just, you know, just that number turned a lot of people off.
It's a good tractor.
Well, it replaced the 656, and one thing about this tractor, it would start 10 times easier than a 656 would on a hot day. So it's a good starting engine. It's really a good little old tractor.
66 horsepower.
That I don't know. It might be 60 or somewhere in that range.
Mm-hmm. Has a 340, 34 horsepower?
I think about 42.
Okay. See, I'm learning too today, guys. So, so this tractor here, I know this tractor a little bit. Some of these tractors came after I left the farm, and I left the farm in the late 90s. So this tractor here, I know this one a little bit because I borrowed it for about a year, I think. One thing about these old Farmalls, and they're all kind of the same way, especially the 66 series, is they ride and drive pretty decent.
Oh yeah, they're good tractors. Good simple tractors.
Easy to work on.
No computers involved.
Fuel and it's fuel and the current. That's all you gotta have in a run.
You gotta have.
You don't even have to have current. You gotta have enough current to start them.
That's it. You can take the battery out after you get it going and keep going.
You got 12 tractors, you got one good battery, you're here in business.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Good deal. We're gonna move up to the next one. So this is Dad's 766, and you can kind of see a pattern going here. They just go up one number. Now this tractor I know. So this tractor we bought in Akron.
Yeah, we bought it from a guy that used to coon hunt with my dad. He know it was Carl Allen. Everybody called him Eddie. Super good guy. I mean, just a good friend. And after he passed away, that tractor set, and the motor seized up in it. The torque was out of it. And I bought it from Eddie's widow and took it home, and I got the tractor, plow, and a dozer blade on the front of it, and I think I gave $3,500 for it.
So when we picked this tractor up, so I can remember this day. I mean, it was in the weeds, and we had to drag it out, and it was all day getting this tractor.
Yep.
On a trailer.
And a lot of people said nothing in the work's been setting too long, but you know, I couldn't see that. I guess it was the first one I fixed up, and we went through it and redone the motor from one end to the other, put a new TA in it, fired it up, and everything worked.
So this tractor was kind of bought, we kind of bought this tractor when we were still in the hay business, hard and heavy.
Yeah.
It was one of those deals where we just needed another tractor, and I think we had switched over to 2 hay binds.
We did.
And it was one of those deals where we had 2 hay balers. And
2 hay rakes, 2 of everything.
And so this tractor was a good size, like mowing hay, you could sit up and see pretty well.
Yep. And
it had the power to do it, to pull it. So it kind of made sense as it wouldn't.
And this tractor here, you know, stock was probably about, I think it was about an 80, 85 horsepower tractor. But I did put a turbo on. I just like the sound of that motor better, not so much the turbo whistling or anything. It just, to me, it quietens the motor down a good bit, and I just liked it. So now and then it's the same thing as what a 966 would be.
Except for your 966 has a turbo, so it's not the same.
So my 966 is actually a 1066. So, but you know, we put turbos on everything. I've got 2 that don't, and one of them's a 340, and I actually found a turbo kit I can put on that.
Boys and their toys.
And
so
my V8 down here, you know, M&W made twin turbos for them, but I'd say they're pretty hard to find. I've never looked, but I'm content where it's at.
There you go. So we're gonna move up to the next one here. So now we're here at the 966. Now this tractor is new to the farm within the last.
It's never been worked since we've owned it.
Never been used. They put it in its dress clothes, and they've never really even worked this one. Have you even had anything hooked to it?
No. When I got this from a guy down in Rockport, Indiana, a super good guy, and he's actually got pancreatic cancer. And, you know, if you think about him, lift him up in prayer, because he definitely needs it. But he wanted a tractor with a cab. He was an older gentleman, probably, when I started, he was probably about my age that I am now. He was probably about 75, and he wanted a tractor with a cab. And all he did with his tractor was grind feed. He fed some calves. And about every 6 months, he'd say, "Jerry, I found a tractor which got a cab. If I can buy it, will you still buy my 9?" And I said, yes. We'd agreed on the price. And then I got a phone call from him. He said, "Jerry, it burnt." And I think I offered him $1,800 for it. And he said, "Oh, I can't take that." And I said, "Well, that's all I can give is scrap price." About 6 months later, he called me up and said, I'm gonna let you have it. And I should have ran. But I sent a truck down and got it, and she's pretty rough shape, worse than I thought it would be. And it probably took me close to 2.5, 3 years to fix this one. Because about every time I think I'd have everything fixed, I'd find something else that was burnt and bad. So, but we eventually got it. Okay. In 1988, we'd had several droughts and farming was bad, and
was that the year we dug potatoes?
That was 83. But anyway, it turned out that I had some debt I couldn't pay off, and I didn't like that. So I made a decision. If it wasn't nailed to the house or to the barn, I sold it. I had an auction. I had James R. Cash come up, and I had everything out for sale. And I think it was in January, long about March, I thought, I ain't quitting. So I actually went down to Rockport. There was a dealer there. There was an International Harvester dealer in Rio. And
Rio, Indiana.
And I bought that tractor and brought it home. And it was a one-owner tractor when I got it.
I just remember, we disagree, and I'm sure he's right, but it seems like it showed up later than 89. But I do remember when this tractor come home, I thought, my God, what we're going to do is a tractor that big? Because it's the biggest thing we'd ever had.
Oh, it was.
And it was kind of weird, you know. Now looking at it, it's a toy.
Oh, yeah.
But we had to pause for a semi coming in there shelling corn behind us. But so we're talking about when this 14 come up. But I was saying, like, when we bought this tractor, I thought, my God, what are we going to do with a tractor this big? And because it was the biggest thing we'd ever had.
Oh, yeah.
And we had some 10s, but this one just...
Well, the 10s had left. And actually, after I had my auction, I kept my 2940. It was the only tractor I kept. I had a 2940, and I still have it. Good tractor. And I went down to Rio and bought this because it was a good tractor, had good rubber on it, and it was, I think I give $7,200 for it when I bought it.
Yeah, it was, I mean, we've used the fire of that tractor.
Oh, it's done a world of work.
Oh, yeah.
It's done a world of work.
This was the first one, the 14 was the first one that he fixed up.
Yeah.
And they got it in its dress clothes, and they sent that one back out to work. It's belted a lot of hay.
Oh, it's done a lot of work since. And actually, I'm going to repaint the white on it. The white on 3 of these tractors is the wrong color.
Let me show you what he's talking about. So this, and you can kind of see it in this picture. On the 10 is like a, what do you call it, like a creamsicle?
Well, it's an international white. It's the white they use from, I think, 62 to 74. 74, 75. And you know, I took, at that time, I took everything to my sheet metal, the body shop, and tell them, now it's international white. It's a creamy white. Look it up and get the right color. Well, I guess they're hard of hearing or hard-headed one. They all come out snow white, so we started painting them ourselves.
Good help's hard to find.
They won't do what you tell them.
So we kind of skipped one, so we're going to jump back on one here real quick. We were arguing about this tractor, so you know what I mean by arguing. He was telling me I was wrong. He's right. So this is Dad's 1066. So this is one of these tractors that I don't know.
This tractor here, I bought it off of a gentleman down in Owensboro, Kentucky. He actually lived in the city, and he was going to pull tractors. And he got married, and his dream didn't come true there. But
his new wife kiboshed his dream.
Yeah. But anyway, he was the second owner. He worked for H&R Agri-Power out of Owensboro. And he bought this tractor to fix it up for a puller. All that kind of went to the side, and it sat out there by his house for quite a while. And I bought it off of him, and it was really a good tractor in great shape.
Mm. Well, always kind of struck me odd about this tractor is that it had the big tires on the back of it.
Yeah, it's got like a 23.9 34s.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went and bought it, I said, "That's not factory tires." She said, "Oh yeah." And I said, "It can't be. I've never seen one before." and he actually had the original International Park book with it, and he looked it up, and sure enough, they did. And I actually found a 966 later that had that same tire on it.
Seemed like it'd be an awfully big tire for that 9.
Well, that's probably true, but a lot of people walk up here, and that's the reason they like this tractor, because of the size of the rear tires.
Well, I always thought, I seen it when they come in, and so I always thought that was kind of cool, kind of a cool feature. And then it had like the row bar where he cut it off the back of it. And
it had a canopy on it at one time, and he took it off when he was going to pull it.
Made kind of like a row bar out of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't like anything special. I just never seen one with something like it on it, so I always thought that was kind of neat. So, well, we skipped the 10, so we did the 10, and then we talked about the 14 because we were arguing about when it showed up. What I mean by arguing is Dad was telling me when it showed up and that I was wrong. And and so we got 2 other tractors down here. The next tractor is probably the neatest tractor.
Yeah, there's not, you won't see a whole lot of them.
So let's go ahead and check this one out. So this is Dad's 1468, and this is a neat tractor. V8 tractor. He can tell you a little bit more about them than I know. I'd never seen one until, really, in real life. I seen pictures of them until he brought this one home. But he didn't bring this tractor home like this. I'll have to it's kind of an interesting story on how this tractor came to be, because how many pallets this tractor come in on?
Oh gosh, there was more on pallets than was on wheels. I'll put it that way. And Jared's brother here thought I was nuts. He didn't think I could make a tractor out of it, but I did. And last Sunday, the gentleman I bought it from, I had called him, and I told him when I got it done, I wanted him and his wife this picture made by it, and I've got it. Him and her both could not believe that that was their tractor. And he said, well, I welded a piece on over here to fix something. And he said, well, you fixed that. He said, I bet you can see my old drawbar where I fixed it. He went back and said, you can change that. I said, yeah, it's all original. It's put back in good shape. But they were literally thrilled to see the old tractor. So
the 68 come about because John Deere
came out with a 9-liter tractor, and International had nothing to compete with it. So to catch up quick, you know, they put the V8 in, and it wasn't a real popular tractor because this tractor, when you idled it down, would run on 4 cylinders. And when you got rock in the ground, you'd idle it down pulling a disc or something, then it would just bog out. So a lot of the farmers did not like that. They needed all 8 cylinders all the time. And a lot of them eliminated it, so.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat tractor. Like I say, I don't even know if I've heard this tractor run. I've heard it run, I think, but it's just one like the 14s and the 10s and 9s. You don't see them as much.
Yeah.
But you see them.
Yep.
These 68s, it's rare.
Oh yeah.
And so he and I talked about, you and I actually talked about this tractor for quite a while, and he's like, if I can just find the center section with the right serial number, I can build one. And essentially it's pretty close to what he did.
Oh yeah.
So now we're gonna move up here to the next one. So this is Dad's 1566, and this is the biggest one out of the 66s that they made. It's a heavy tractor. These tractors weren't overly popular. We'll back up and you can see it. These tractors weren't overly popular just for really one reason. And I was thinking about this. We actually borrowed a 15, and we used it for a little bit, and it was Wayne Norton's tractor.
Okay.
And why didn't people like these tractors?
Well, the 14 and down had a 4-speed transmission. When you went to the 15, they put heavier gears in it, and they only made them a 3-speed. And a lot of the jobs that the farmers wanted to do was either it was too fast or too slow. There was nothing in between. So a lot of farmers just didn't like it for that very reason. But this is a good tractor. It was in good shape when I bought it.
So I remember a lot of these people that had bought these big tractors chop silage, didn't they?
Yeah, you know, and a lot of them pull some big plows with them. You get up in Illinois, it was nothing to see one pulling 6 bottoms. Now they knew it was back there, but they could do it.
What's the one? Was this the one that had the fuel tank on the front of it?
This one did. It had a fuel tank on it, and is a tank that would mount on a John Deere or International. And this one here had John Deere eater on the side of the tank. If you was on a John Deere tractor, say International eater. So.
That's funny. Well, yeah. So you know, Dad's been working on these things for 10 years. He's got one more black stripe. Is that 1066 back there?
It is.
That he wants to do. And then we have, I say we, they're not mine. But he's got two Super Cs that he's wanting to fix up.
That's
which is about the size of the 340 up front.
Well, it's less horse. They're not about 28 horsepower.
Well, the size of the tractor is about the same.
They're about the same weight tractor, really.
And then and he's got some other ones that have been sprinkled in, an old Elm, and then he's got
a 400 gas to 450 diesel.
And that 450 diesel is interesting because it doesn't start on diesel.
And you have to start them on gas, warm them up, and then switch them over to run on diesel. And it's a neat sounding tractor. I guess that's what I like about it, is the way that motor sounds.
What's funny is you buy these tractors and some of them they're just kind of cool.
Yep. But I guess what's sad about all of these old tractors is, like your H's and M's, that generation that used those tractors passing away, and the new generation don't care as much about it. And when the generation that used these tractors here are gone, these tractors here will probably plummet in value. Right now, they're still pretty popular.
You know, we were talking about just, I'm gonna sit here with you. We were talking about just how much farming's changed over the years, and you know, these tractors when I was a kid were big tractors.
Very big tractors.
And now, I mean, they're not really hardly big enough to use unless you're just gonna pull a bush over or something with them.
That's about it. They're a good tractor to mow with.
But you know, farming's changed so much. I mean, we went from the New Holland combines.
Yeah.
98s.
TR70s.
TR70s. And then they went to the 7720s.
Yeah.
20 series combine, which was a huge improvement from the
same year, but John Deere had New Holland beat bad.
So we were just talking about how much different farming was, and it's funny, we had to wait for the old semi to go by. You know, we went from these 7720 combines, and I'll try to look up something and throw in a video just to kind of give you an idea, like what they went from to what I'm going to show you here in a little bit. I'll probably show you on the next video. But it was one of those deals where farming has just changed so much. I mean,
oh gosh.
You know, we guess this old, what was it, a Kenworth, that 88 Kenworth went by as an old truck, but it's a long way from that Brown International you had.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, long ways.
And then that was back when the trucks didn't have dump trailers. They would pull you in on the ramp. And this is pretty neat, and I guess they're still there. But you drive your semi in on this big platform, and you back up, maybe these chocks that come up out of the ground. And they would pick up a 80 to 100,000 pound semi and raise the whole thing up to where it would dump it.
Yep. And Owensboro still does that. They've got one dumper still can dump a flat bottom grain trailer.
Who has a flat bottom grain trailer anymore?
Well, they don't, but every once in a while you'll see one come in Owensboro, believe it or not.
Yeah, that place is old, so they got the old guys that come in with their old trucks. But just kind of crazy. I mean, you know, it's I guess when I go back, we had the C60. We started, my first grain truck on that matter was a C60 and that Ford we had.
Yeah.
They're both blue. The C60 was blue and white, wasn't it?
Yep, and thought they were Cadillacs.
And then went to the Brown International.
Yep.
I remember when you hit the bridge with it.
Yep.
And
the scale was pulling in the scales, and I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to get across the road, and I didn't get lined up straight.
It stopped us.
Oh yeah, we stopped quick.
And then we had, what was the next truck? It's the Mack?
We had a Mack.
Yeah, and then we had then we went to the white DT 466 truck, the one I turned over.
Yep.
And then we went to the Volvo with the little single axle with a hopper.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of like at the end of my farming career.
Yeah, we used to haul a lot of hay, and we had a 40-foot trailer that it wasn't a real heavy trailer, but it was low to the ground, had air brakes, and it was a nice trailer.
You get 505 bales of hay on it.
And I actually had it special made just for that. And it's still around, believe it or not, so with the old white Bobo.
Well, that hay trailer is down there in the barn as a gooseneck now.
One of them, yes. That's the one that had electric brakes on that you couldn't stop.
So where'd the air brakes go?
Kenny Compton's got it.
Still uses a hay trailer?
No, I think he uses for a water truck and stuff. I don't know what all he hauls on it. Maybe tobacco to market too and stuff like that.
Then, yeah, farming's just changed so much. You know, we had a big hay business at one time, and we went to Seneca, Kansas in that C60.
Pulled
bell wagon.
Yep.
And then when we went back in your dually,
Pulled another belt wagon.
I think the C60 got back better than the dually.
Just a little bit.
We had to stop and disassemble the bell wagon to get home in the dually.
It pulled hard, yes.
I just remember, I don't remember this at all, but me having to take a leak on the side of the road kept our wheels on.
Yeah, you call it a loose wheel. We found the wheels that hadn't worked loose.
I had one of those cameras, the little 35 millimeter that looked like a music note. So it had a little round thing on each end, and the film went through the middle. Man, I must have took 100 pictures of just nothing because we were in Kansas. So, but I remember those trips. So I remember that like it was yesterday. And so,
what were you, about 14?
No, I wasn't that old when we went to C60.
We took the dually.
I was 14 or 15, and he said, "I'm tired," and I
let him drive for a while
across Kansas. And I think I went around a curve a little fast or something. Scared us.
Well, you went around one just a little faster than I thought you should have.
I think I may or may not have got yelled at. But yeah, I remember that, and it's pretty neat. I mean, farming's changed so much, but you know, Dad, I really appreciate you doing this with me. It's kind of something, you know, to have.
Well, I hope it gives an idea of what all farming has been, and I hope people enjoy it. I know I've enjoyed just sitting here and talking about it. I guess God gave me a gift of gab. I can talk all day long. So.
Well, I got it. I think that one followed the family tree because I'm kind of the same way. But I appreciate you doing this with me, and I think you know, hopefully you guys learn something a little bit about who I come from and where I'm from. You know, I don't farm anymore, but farming's a big part of who I am.
Hard to get out of your blood, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I could come down here to work tomorrow and be just fine. Wouldn't bother me a bit. So I'd lose a little weight probably. So, but well, like I said, I really appreciate it. So thanks, Dad.
All right.
We'll see you.
Bye.
This bonus footage. This is Dad's in work clothes 1066 black stripe. And so this tractor is actually a pretty neat tractor. This tractor is probably the biggest horsepower 1066.
Yep, it is. We built a couple grain bins, and we were told that the augers, the transport augers that you put the corn in the bins would reach, but they were totally wrong. They didn't come close. So we bought an auger that was 13 or 13 and a half inches in diameter, 110 feet long. And it'll move a lot of corn and move it fast, but it takes horsepower. And that's something that we really didn't have. So this was no tractor that we used to pull stuff with the auger and things with. So we took it into the shop the next winter, pulled the motor out of it, went and bought a DT 466, a 235 horsepower engine.
Truck motor.
And put in there. And that solved our horsepower problem. But what we learned real quick was the PTO wasn't built for that much horsepower, so we could smoke a PTO with just a blink of an eye. So we had to learn to adjust everything, but we figured it out. But it's a good old tractor, run strong, good run tractor.
So it's kind of neat. So this kind of really gives you an ideal, and this one's in good shape. The sheet metal's pretty straight on it. I know it's a greasy mess, but this is probably a lot better than a lot of them you start with.
Oh, this is a great looking tractor. It's an easy one to restore compared to what I have had.
It's kind of a wash and paint.
Well, I do a little bit of straightening and body work, but not much.
And so I was going to show you when Dad's talking about a PTO. For those of you that don't know, this is your PTO here. So that spins. So when you hook something to the back of it, it's got a shaft that hooks to that, and that PTO spins that shaft and then it powers whatever it is that you're pulling, whether it's like a bush hog or an auger, silage picker, corn picker. You know,
we actually got a PTO out of 1086 and put in it, and we beefed it up, and it's helped better than anything we've had so far.
But it's pretty neat. You know, that's one thing I will say about, you know, when you grow up farming and you grow up doing things, you become pretty resilient and self-sufficient.
Oh yeah.
You know, farming's hard, and you know, and you have good years and you have not so good years. And
well, I've always said if farming was good every year, everybody would want to do it, and it's just like anything else. You have your good days and bad.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. You learn a lot about yourself when you learn a lot about who you are farming.
Yep.
One of the things that growing up farming, that I always swore, and I still swear, that this man could fix anything.
I don't know about that. I tear up a lot.
That's easy. That's the easy part. But we would have something broke, and I just remember Dad would always tell us, "Fix it." And we'd say, "Well, what's wrong with it?" And he'd say, "It's broke." And I have had more instructional learning on just taking crap apart and trying to figure out what's wrong with it than most people have in a lifetime.
Well, all I can say about farming, it's a great place to raise a family. I mean, it's not easy. It's not always easy, but you have a lot of fun, you know, and a lot of tears too if you get down to it. But at the end of the day, it's pretty darn nice place to raise a family.
You learn to depend on each other.
Yep.
You know, even when I was a young man, a little boy, there was things that I did on the farm that you counted on me for. Well, it was raking hay or whatever.
Well, you know, we give kids a lot of responsibilities, which you don't see at this day and time. Most kids are quitters. You know, they have no staying power, and that's sad for Americans. It's in them. It's just never been brought out in them. And we're going to miss that, where people don't see what their true abilities are. And you know, God was very good to all of us.
Yeah, we've all been healthy and kind of we've all had good lives. Me and Jamie were talking earlier. You know, he's lived an interesting life, and I think we can all say that.
Oh yeah.
All my siblings.
I remember today we were working on. I think we was working on the hay baler up at Miss Brown's farm.
Okay.
Hot, thirsty.
I remember. I know where this is going.
And here come my black four-wheel drive pickup. There wasn't no driver that you could see. And every once in a while, this kid in it would pull himself up on the steering wheel and look out through there, see where he was going, and it was Jarrett bringing us water.
Yeah, I remember. I remember the story, but I think it was. I wasn't. How could it have been?
Well, you weren't very big, and it was a straight shift.
So I think the story was I wasn't strong enough to push the clutch down sitting in the seat, so I was sliding my butt down between the seat.
Yeah, it could have been. I don't know.
I'd push the clutch in, and of course it had that old low gear transmission in it, which would take off, you know, straight up a hill. And
yeah.
I would go a little piece and see where I was at, and drive a little bit, and I'd stop and see where I was at, and go a little piece. Well, I eventually got there.
He got there, and we were glad to see him.
God, that had to be early 80s.
Oh, it was a long time ago.
So.
But the kids got to do a lot of stuff that adults won't get to do now. I mean, it's just, did we take risks? Yeah, but you know, when you get in the car and drive down the road, you're taking a huge risk.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So, you know, thankful nobody was hurt.
Well, again, I appreciate you doing this with me.
All right.
All right, we're leaving for real now. So we'll see you guys.